and welcome to this short little broadcast from Profit Magazine. Today, we pleased to be joined by Ariba Shahid, whose cover story was featured on the magazines in the magazine this week. It was an exclusive interview with a key newsmaker, Reza Baqir, Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan, who has a very difficult job these days. To try and moderate the pace of growth that there is in the economy and balance or draw a balancing act between controlling inflation and while at the same time keeping the growth momentum going. So Ariba had an opportunity to sit down with him and discuss some of these challenges. Ariba, thanks, and great story. Well done. Let's start with this. What were some of the key points that came out of the interview?
All right. So last year during COVID-19, the State Bank was really proactive in terms of accommodative measures to get the economy afloat. So we were in survival mode, and the State Bank came up with a lot of schemes such as LTFF, TURF, etc. Schemes where you were getting cheap credit to pay off your employees so you wouldn't have to go for mass layoffs, things like that. So they had a whole list of things they did just to accommodate the economy during a very difficult and painful time, right? So the monetary policy this week was really interesting because it was earlier than scheduled. And also earlier the week, the State Bank increased the cash reserve ratio. So these two things happened in the same week, which says that, we're changing gears, we're shifting gears, we're changing directions. So while the State Bank says that it's maintaining an accommodative stance, at the end of the day, it's giving you a signal that we're not going to go easy anymore. The special conditions, the special, our special considerations for you during COVID are now over, and we're getting back to business. We're putting on our suits. We're down, and we're going to go for more sustainable long-term growth measures rather than quick fixes just to keep yourself afloat.
Okay, very interesting. So you mentioned two steps that they have already taken, the CRR and the preponement, and then the hike in the discount rate. How does the State Bank governor feel that these are going to help bring down inflation or control inflation?
So I asked him a question. I was like, a lot of people say that this is cost push inflation, it's supply side inflation, it's imported inflation in terms of, the international commodity prices are high. Why are you hiking up interest rates if,
In fact, the State Bank itself has been saying that all along too, right? For many months. In their own monetary policy statements, they've been saying there's a supply side inflation.
Absolutely.
So some of us are surprised to see them using monetary tools to fight it. What did he say about
that? So now they're of the opinion that there is demand side inflation because of the money supply. So we've got to mop up some of that extra liquidity. He's like, look at the indices for fast moving consumer goods, look at the sales for things such as motorcycles, etc., and you see that there is a lot of consumption happening within the economy, which is also driving up prices. So while we can't really do anything about the international commodity prices and imported inflation in that sense, what we can do is we can try to dampen demand or consumption within the country. So this is the State Bank coming out and saying, you know what? There is demand-driven, money supply-driven inflation, and this is what we're doing to deal with it. So it's again, change in communication.
Interesting thing to note there. I mean, we've been hearing from the government that motorcycle sales, the brisk nature of motorcycle sales in rural areas is a sign of rising prosperity. But now we hear through your interview from the State Bank governor that in fact there is a flip side to this coin, that it is also an indicator of excess demand that must be tapered. So is it a fact? I mean, are we effectively hearing that there is growth taking place, but we must moderate and temper this growth because it's also fueling inflation?
So I personally feel the conversations about motorcycles in general is not more related to prosperity. It's because we don't have public transportation. That's a completely different conversation. But it does show that maybe people have more purchasing power, or maybe there is a little more credit growth in the sense that people might be able to purchase these things. So there is that, but yeah, absolutely. I feel that consumption-driven growth is something that the state bank is looking to, cover up or decrease in the meantime when international prices are high and supply side and cost side inflation exists. So they're trying to control this kind of inflation, while the other one is something that is beyond their tools.
Okay, Ariba, thanks very much. Looks like it's the state bank governor has his task set out for him.
Yeah.
And I suppose one can't help but wish him all the best after reading that interview, because it's a very delicate balancing job that he has to do from here onwards, isn't it?
It is. And I also feel that the state bank, this is a personal opinion, which you may or may not agree with. I feel that the state bank should worry about getting the job done, rather than issuing clarification statements. And maybe, just maybe, if they would have done a press conference in a week where they had such big changes, rather than individually speaking to, let's say, Kamran Khan, or speaking to Profit, or speaking to FT or whatever, if they would have had a general press conference where people could have asked questions, there would have been less confusion in the media, and they wouldn't have to issue a clarification to op-eds.
Okay, well, thanks very much for this, Ariba. And I do urge all those watching to go read this story, check it out, because there's a lot more in there of immense interest. And it is very illuminating to see the kind of challenges that the state bank has to now walk in the days to come. All the best from here, me and the larger team at Profit. Until next time.